Hey guys, want to make a little update on my journey of not being heartbroken anymore, and I want to share that with you because I really think I'm really on the turning point where things change really, and that's exactly where everything happens. So sometimes there are some peak of being heartbroken, peak of sadness, peak of difficulties because of the events, because of your thoughts, because of a lot of things. And at this moment, you have just two choices. And that's what I want you to not only make you aware, but really think about it and really, stay on that. Really being like convinced and so determined to change things at this moment because there are just two paths at this moment. You have, because when things are a little bit more like, um, possible, I would say, to live. It's not that painful. Just continue on the bad way. So that's when there is a peak in the pain that you have to make a choice, and you can really make a choice because then you don't want to sustain this uh, the bad ways anymore. You don't want this pain anymore at all. So at this moment, you have two choices. The first, obviously, to continue to live, I would say, your old life with your old stories about, the person that broke your heart, about everything that happened and that made you feel sad. And that's very compelling. We completely identify with our story. We completely not only identify, but it's our life because we feel it, we can experience it very deeply. And so that's our life, that's our self, that's our universe. There's only that in the world, and there's no other possibilities. At least that's what we feel. And that makes it very compelling to stay there and say, that's my reality, that's the reality, that's just one, and that's that. And so I'm very sad. But when you feel very like with a lot of pain, you want to change that at some point, you realize that, okay, you don't want that anymore. What are you going to do? And if you already thought about it's about a story, and I can have another story, and I can experience other things, because obviously there are other persons who I can be very happy with, even though I don't feel it, I know that's true. So if you just know that, and you are um, how to say that, you know that, and you don't trick yourself into thinking there's no other way. Okay, you're honest enough with yourself. At this moment, you're going to be much more likely to make the choice to say, okay, I know there is something else, I don't feel it, and I don't really know how to go into building another story, but I know it, and now I want that because it's just too painful to stay there. And then you can really change things. And not only you can change, but that's the best moment you can change. And if you take action, you're going to change things. Take action. First action is just in your mind. Say, I don't want this story, and all things that makes you feel sad or painful, you just reject them by saying, okay, I know it's wrong. And it seems like you're rejecting your own story. That's your own story, your own self in a way, because you are so identified and so fully living in this life for usually so long that it's a little bit awkward to say that, but you're going to reject fully this story. And there things can happen because that's the only thing you have to do. Reject that and now focus on what you want. And there are two things I want to share with you with that. It's basically it's what I've experienced, uh, yesterday or just a few days ago. I don't remember, and that's why I'm very focused on that. And I know it's really interesting because I'm really building something else out of that. But that's really because it's if I don't do that, I'm going to feel more and more pain. It's that's why I say you just have two choices, two ways at this moment, and you have to make a choice. And if you don't make the right choice fully and completely at this moment, you're going to feel more and more pain. And if you don't want that, then in a way you are forced to move, to really put some energy to change things. And that's why it's a good thing sometimes to have like a peak of pain, you know, uh, because you don't want that anymore. And you can really take control of that. So two things. I heard, I hear a lot of, I'm listening and even watching, to a lot of videos of Tony Robbins. If you don't know him, you can watch videos. There are a lot of videos of him. He's very motivating, very enthusiastic, and it's very good to keep your mind in the right direction, focus on the right things. So that's a very good thing to do, I think, first of all. But he was talking about one of his experience of him driving a race car. I think I don't really remember what it was, but the thing is, he were driving that, and the first thing the I don't know the professional who was with him learned him to do was to avoid a catastrophe in a way. When there's a wall in front of him and he's losing control of the car, the thing was to be able to uh, get control of the car and to avoid the wall. Okay, and so he put Tony Robbins in this situation several times. And the thing is, what happened for him is that, uh, as he's been taught previously, he was just focused on the wall. And if you want to avoid the wall and you focused on the wall, the only direction you're going to go is in the wall. So the first thing he learned was doing that. And even though he knew what was in a way the method, he was compelled to look at the wall. He wanted to look at the wall where he was driving so fast and with the emotions. And it's something that really, it's every time what we're doing when we're heartbroken, we just want to feel this pain. We want to, that's just our life, and we identify to it, and we are compelled to live that in a way. But so the first thing he learned was to look at where he wanted to go, despite this, in a way, this will to look at the wall. And he did that several times because at first it was not, in a way, natural at all. It was not easy at all to do. So it's very interesting because it's exactly the same, even if for some reasons we really want to look at what we don't want. That's exactly what we have not to do. And the solution is really to let that go and look at where you want to go and put some energy into that. And if you do that, you're going to overcome the situation. It's something I learned when I was doing judo. At sometimes it becomes very difficult in the fight, and the difference is just made in your mind. It's between you and the person in front of you in the fight, and that's the person who believes the most is going to win. There's always one who is going to be superior to the other, and that's this person who is going to win. And eventually you reach a point where physically you're very tired. It's very difficult, and that becomes more and more difficult in your mind to believe, yes, but I'm still going to be the one who wins this fight. But that's the same for the person in front of you. And I've learned that at the moment where it was, the peak of pain, what I was talking about, that's the moment where you can make the change and say, no matter what, I'm going to win. Even though you feel that, okay, enough, I'm too tired, I don't have enough physical strength or resistance or whatever, and forget it. That's what you think very deeply, and you want just to stay there, and that's exactly the moment where you can change things. That's exactly this at this moment. And by living that again and again, I ended up by understanding that that's the moment you change things. My teachers were very precise about that. That's now that you can change things. That's now that you have to change. Okay. And when you switch your mind and you realize that you can make the switch, you can choose otherwise. You say, no matter what, now I win, no matter what. Then, well, things change completely, radically, right away. You just put the control on another situation. There were two ways, and you've just chosen at this moment to go the other way, no matter what. And that's enough. You've done everything at this moment. That's at the pain of the peak of pain that you make this choice. And it reminds me of something else. It's about, yeah, judo. Again, I was doing competition. I was something like 18 years old. I remember I was driving to a competition and thought, at first I was not very good at all in competition, but little by little I learned how to, overcome the difficulties, my doubts and everything, and I became much better, even though I was not world champion at all, but I really, grew a lot in competition. And at this moment, I was clearly not very good. And I was driving to a competition, and then I realized that there was just one thing that would really make me happy, that I really wanted more than ever. It was to be better in competition, to be good in competition. And I realized that, and it changes something, because usually that's always the same thing. You go in a situation that's difficult for you. You say to yourself, okay, I'm going to try, I'm going to do my best, and so on, and it never happens the way you want, and you, in a way, you feel that you don't really control that. It's difficult. Sometimes someday you'll reach the level you want. Yeah, that okay, you're doing your best, and eventually you ended up doing what you want, but today was difficult and something like that. And then I realized that was the most important thing in my life at this moment. That was the better goal I had. And then I realized that and say, okay, so if that's the only thing that really matters for me, well, there's nothing else I have to listen in my mind. There's just that and nothing else, and nothing can prevent me from focusing on that, from never say no, never say I quit, never say I don't mind. There's just one thing that I really value at this moment. That's that. So I can be tired, exhausted, whatever. I don't mind, because there's just one thing I value. So I don't want to. I want to get some rest when I feel exhausted. I don't mind. I want to win. I want that. There's only one thing. And so when you put the highest value in your life at something, then you dismiss everything else, and then you take the only path that leads you where you want. And that's exactly the same. At some point you have to realize that what is the most important thing. uh, the more you focus and the more you understand that everything is happening there, at the peak of pain most of the time, and there's just one thing that you value more than ever at this moment in your life. That's this. Then nothing can prevent you to put everything into that: your thoughts, your energy, your focus, your attention, everything. And when you realize that, if you want to be happy when you're heartbroken, there's just one thing to do: create the way you want, look at what you want, meet some girls or some boys, or but move and be determined, and know that there's only that you want. So no matter what is happening now, anyway, you're going to succeed and to build what you want, because you're just going to focus everything on that until everything has changed. And when you know that and you are determined, there's no doubt into your mind. Each time there's a doubt, you can dismiss it and say, no, anyway, I know that's wrong, and I know I don't want that anymore. There's no more question in my mind. The problem is when we have so much questions in our mind that we always say, yeah, but maybe, it could have been like that, or I'm so sad because of that, or I feel so powerless, and things like that. All those kind of things. We act like a victim in a way. We don't have control. We have given our control to someone else, to a situation. Uh, when we are determined and we know there's another path, and no matter what, there's nothing that has more value than that, nothing can stop us. And at this moment, you're not going to be heartbroken very long. You're already not really heartbroken. You can still have the feeling, the emotions, negative, difficult feelings, okay, but they don't have control anymore. At this moment, you're starting to create something new. So that's the way, that's the path, okay? And you're going to do things that feels uncomfortable for you, to meet some, other girls or boys. Uh, it can feel very uncomfortable. A lot of things, that you're going to move, but you know that if you want to change, you move. And you're going to move because you don't want to avoid feeling uncomfortable. You just want to build something else, and never taking the the way to a situation where you don't have control and you have that heartbroken. Okay, so do it. You have fully control of that. Understand, be aware that everything happens there and you have fully control. And even if you can't feel what you're going to build, you know it. Just remind you of what you know. You can build everything you want and start to build it right away. The more you invest in this path right away, the better, the quicker it's going to be, and your life is going much, much better than before being heartbroken. Much better. Why? Because before being heartbroken, you were on the conditions where you could feel heartbroken. Because in a way, you were on conditions on what was happening around you with this person, with this situation. Now you are building a life where you have free control of your relationships and you're not depending on one person, but you know you can build as many relationships, great relationships as you want. You know, so your life is going to be much better than before, and you have free control on that. So understand where is your value and start to build your life right away. And I'll keep you posted on what are my next experiments in life, how all that is building up, and so that you can be convinced that it's the real path and it really works. Okay? Have a great life, enjoy yourself, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye bye.